Five Nights at Freddy's has been called unsolvable, a franchise built on pixelated riddles, contradictory timelines, and a creator who communicates exclusively through cryptic teasers. But that's not entirely true. Over the past decade, the community has cracked open 9 major mysteries that fundamentally reshaped our understanding of the lore, and every single one of them traces back to the same starting point, a nameless purple sprite who had no business becoming one of gaming's most iconic villains. The Purple Guy. For years, the most iconic villain in Five Nights at Freddy's was literally just a color, no face, no name, no backstory, just a two-dimensional purple sprite shambling across 8-bit minigames, luring children off screen, and dismantling animatronics in the dark. A pixel blob with zero identifying features beyond the fact that he was, you know, purple. And somehow, this featureless smear of lavender became one of the most recognizable villains in gaming history. I don't know what to tell you. In FNAF 2 and FNAF 3, the Purple Guy appears exclusively in retro minigames. He lures kids, he kills them, he takes apart animatronics. The games give you absolutely nothing else. No dialogue, no motive, no company badge. Just Purple Man does Purple Man things. Then FNAF 3 gives us the payoff. Chased by the vengeful ghosts of his victims, he panics and climbs into an old spring Bonnie suit to hide. The spring locks malfunction. The suit crushes him from the inside. His corpse rots inside that suit for 30 years until someone digs it up as a haunted attraction. That's Springtrap. The killer became the monster, but we still didn't have a name. It took Sister Location to finally confirm what fans had pieced together. William Afton, co-founder of Fazbear Entertainment, owner of Afton Robotics, the man directly responsible for nearly every tragedy in the series. In the secret ending, William's own son speaks directly to him over a slow reveal of Springtrap's rotting face. "Father, it's me, Michael. I'm going to come find you." That single line does double duty. It confirms the family name, tying the purple sprite to the Afton household, and it kicks off Michael's entire redemption arc. Cool, that's comforting. Before that confirmation, fans debated everything. Multiple killers, corrupt corporations, supernatural entities posing as staff. Identifying Afton collapsed all of that into one clean, horrible answer. It was always one guy, and he built the company that let him do it. But if you think putting a name to the Purple Guy settled things, wait until you hear how long the community spent screaming about a single number and a date. The bite of 87 vs 83. This one nearly destroyed the community. I'm not exaggerating. People were genuinely furious about this for years, and honestly, I get it. Here's the setup. In the very first game, Phone Guy casually drops this line about an animatronic biting someone so hard they lost their entire frontal lobe. The victim survived, but in a vegetative state. He calls it the bite of 87, says it like it's common knowledge, and then just moves on. No details, no name, no animatronic identified, just a date and a horrifying injury. So naturally, when FNAF 4 shows us a child being shoved headfirst into Fredbear's mouth at a birthday party, everyone assumed that was it. Mystery solved. We finally saw the bite of 87. But here's the thing. The game isn't set in 1987. Sister Location's private room has a keypad, and when you punch in 1983, it responds. The TV in the FNAF 4 bedroom shows a Fredbear's Family Diner commercial dated 1983. The aesthetics, the technology, the entire vibe of that location screams early 80s. And yet for years, people tried to force this into a late 80s timeline because Phone Guy said 87 and that was gospel. The accepted answer now is elegant in its simplicity. These are two completely separate incidents. The bite of 87 happened at the second Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, likely involving a guard associated with Jeremy, where an animatronic malfunctioned and removed someone's frontal lobe. That person lived. It explains the corporate paranoia, the stripped down animatronics, the new safety protocols. The bite of 1983 killed the crying child. Full stop. And that tragedy is the emotional core of the entire Afton family saga. It's what drives William's obsession with fear, with Remnant, with cheating death itself. One bite created a corporate liability. The other created a monster. 2 bites, 2 victims, 2 completely different narrative purposes. But if you think untangling a timeline is complicated, wait until you hear about what William Afton did to 5 children in a back room, the missing children incident. Once you know William Afton is the Purple Guy, this mystery basically solves itself. 5 children, Gabriel, Susie, Jeremy, Fritz, and Cassidy. A birthday party at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, and a man in a yellow rabbit suit who led them one by one into the safe room where nobody would ever find them. Afton used the Spring Bonnie suit to gain their trust. He looked like a mascot. He looked like fun. one, and then he murdered all 5 of them and stuffed their bodies into the animatronics. Gabriel went into Freddy, Susie into Chica, Fritz into Foxy, Jeremy into Bonnie, and Cassidy became associated with Golden Freddy, which is, you know, not ideal. Early on, the community threw out every theory imaginable. Maybe it was a scapegoat employee, maybe it was Henry Emily, Afton's business partner. But once those minigames showed the yellow rabbit luring children away, and once Afton was confirmed as the guy who literally wore Spring Bonnie as a disguise, every alternative just collapsed. But here's where it gets really interesting. The missing children incident isn't just a crime, it's an accident. Specifically, it's the first time souls got permanently trapped inside animatronic shells, and nobody planned for that to happen. Afton killed those kids to kill them, but what he accidentally created was a proof of concept. 5 souls bound to 5 machines, still conscious, still angry, still wandering the pizzeria decades later. And once Afton realized what he'd done, once he understood that death didn't have to be permanent if you had the right metal and the right conditions, that accident became an obsession. The remnant experiments, the funtime animatronics, the scooper, all of it traces back to this one night where he stumbled into something he spent the rest of his life trying to replicate on purpose. The evidence here is about as clean as FNAF gets. Named victims, a clear method, and an explicit connection to Afton. This one's solved. But if you think having answers makes things less confusing, wait until we get to the one mystery that Scott Cawthon himself admitted he can't solve anymore. The FNAF 4 box. This is the funniest mystery on the entire list, and I mean that with complete sincerity. At the end of FNAF 4, after you survive the nightmares, after you piece together the crying child's final days, the game shows you a locked box, just sitting there, closed, accompanied by a single message. Some things are best left forgotten for now. That for now destroyed people. The community treated it like a challenge. Players dug through hidden code, manipulated save files, tried elaborate input sequences, reversed audio files. Thousands of hours across thousands of people, all trying to crack open one digital box. Some said it contained a montage of the Afton family's complete tragedy. Others claimed it held an image of Golden Freddy. Entire channels were built around solving this single prop. And then Scott Cawthon, the man who put the box there in the first place, said this: "There is something in the box, but I never pursued that, and I don't know if I can find it again." He forgot. Years of detective work, thousands of theory videos, frame-by-frame analysis of a locked chest rendered in like 12 pixels. And the answer is, I don't remember what I was going to put in there. I don't know what to tell you. The community eventually arrived at the only resolution available to them, accepting that the box will never open and treating it as a symbol rather than a puzzle. It represents unresolvable trauma, the things you can't fix by knowing more about them, which is, you know, not ideal when you've spent 3 years trying to brute force a save file. There's strong reason to believe the box was meant to contain something important, but the intended content was never implemented and may genuinely be lost to time. The biggest mystery was never a mystery at all. It was an abandoned thread dressed up as a finale. But if you think an answer of I forgot is frustrating, wait until you hear about the identity crisis that nearly split the entire fandom in half. The crying child's brother. This one is genuinely rare. A FNAF mystery that got solved cleanly, confirmed explicitly, and actually made the story better. That almost never happens. Here's the setup. FNAF 4's minigames show the crying child being tormented by an older brother who wears a Foxy mask. This kid, nicknamed Foxy Bro by the community, spends the entire week leading up to the birthday party orchestrating jump scares, locking his little brother in rooms with animatronics, and generally being the worst sibling in gaming history. Then at the party, he and his friends shove the crying child's head into Fredbear's mouth as a prank. The jaw clamps down, the kid dies. But here's the question that haunted the community for years. Who is Foxy Bro? Is he just some random bully, a narrative device, or is he someone we already know? The Mike Bro theory proposed that Foxy Bro is Michael Afton, the protagonist of Sister Location, who descends into Circus Baby's entertainment and rentals on a mission to put his sister back together. The logic was clean. Michael carries guilt. Michael repeatedly enters situations that will almost certainly kill him. Michael works against his father's creations like a man trying to undo something terrible. If he's the kid who killed his own brother with a stupid prank, suddenly all of that self-destructive behavior makes perfect sense. And then Scott Cawthon just confirmed it. In the Freddy files, it's stated that Mike is 100% the Foxy Bro. No ambiguity, no interpretation required. Just a flat yes, you were right. This transforms FNAF 4 completely. It's not just a horror game about a scared child. It's Michael Afton's origin story, the exact moment where a childhood bully accidentally murders his little brother and spends the rest of his life trying to make up for it. He walks into underground death facilities. He lets himself get scooped. He keeps coming back because he believes believes he deserves whatever happens to him. That's an absurdly tragic arc for a franchise built on jump scare robots. The kid in the foxy mask grows up to become the series' most complex protagonist, carrying the weight of both his own cruelty and his father's crimes, which is, you know, not ideal for his mental health. But if you think Michael's story gets dark here, wait until you hear what the Scooper actually does to him. The Scooper and Remnant. This is the point where Five Nights at Freddy's stops being a haunted pizza place story and becomes full-blown sci-fi body horror. And honestly, it's one of the most disturbing turns the franchise ever takes. The Scooper is a machine housed in the scooping room beneath Circus Baby's entertainment and rentals. Its official purpose is maintenance. It destroys broken animatronics by smashing their chests open and extracting endoskeleton parts. Cool, totally normal workplace equipment. Nothing unsettling about that at all. But here's where it gets complicated. The Scooper isn't just a demolition tool, it's a transfer device. It moves remnant-infused material between hosts. And Remnant, for those unfamiliar, is a metallic substance first described in detail in the fourth closet. It behaves like molten metal, can be manipulated at specific temperatures, and has one deeply horrifying property. It binds soul energy to inanimate objects. That's the mechanism behind every haunted animatronic in this franchise. Remnant is the glue holding dead children's spirits inside robot bodies. Now, William Afton designed this entire underground facility. The Scooper, the Funtime animatronics, all of it. And the prevailing theory, backed by Sister Location's environmental storytelling, is that he built this network before the missing children incident. The whole place is essentially a giant soul extraction laboratory disguised as a children's entertainment rental service, which is, you know, not ideal. But the truly disturbing part is the fear chambers. Afton believed that extreme terror caused his son's soul to shatter during the bite of 1983, so he built rooms specifically designed to recreate those conditions. Abducted children were tortured under controlled settings so he could study how remnant fragments under intense fear. He wasn't just killing kids, he was running experiments on their souls using industrial machinery. And Michael Afton walks directly into this. The Scooper is used on him, inserting the Enard amalgam, a tangled mess of combined Funtime endoskeletons, directly into his body. The machine doesn't just destroy, it transplants. Michael literally becomes a walking vessel for remnant-infused animatronic parts. The evidence here is moderate to strong. Canonical sources describe Remnant's properties clearly. The Scooper's mechanics are shown directly in gameplay, and Sister Location's entire structure reinforces the experimental framework. Afton isn't just a serial killer wearing a rabbit suit anymore. He's a mad scientist with a body count. But if Sister Location reveals how deep Afton's experiments went, the next question becomes, how does it all end? And the answer involves one very angry old man and a whole lot of fire. The Henry Emily fire after 6 games of cryptic mini-games, hidden lore buried in source code, and puzzles that required a PhD in pattern recognition to even attempt. Scott Cawthon did something absolutely unthinkable. He just told us what was happening. FNAF 6's true ending features a monologue from Henry Emily that opens with one of the most iconic lines in the franchise. Connection terminated. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Elizabeth, if you still even remember that name. And from that moment, the ambiguity that defined Five Nights at Freddy's just evaporates. Henry speaks clearly. He explains exactly what he's done and why. Here's what he reveals. The entire pizzeria you've been managing throughout FNAF 6 was never a real business. It was a trap. Henry designed the whole thing to lure in every major haunted animatronic still active. Circus Baby, Springtrap, Molten Freddy, Lefty, all pulled into one building like moths to a flame, and once they're all inside, Henry burns the place to the ground, with himself still in it. That's not subtext. That's not a theory. The man literally tells you his plan while it's happening. Before this moment, Henry barely existed as a character, a name inferred from scattered corporate references and book lore. The silent business partner who co-founded Fazbear Entertainment with William Afton and then seemingly disappeared. Then FNAF 6 drops, and suddenly this ghost of a character delivers the emotional climax of the entire franchise. His sacrifice frees the trapped souls. Gabriel, Susie, Jeremy, Fritz, Cassidy, Elizabeth, children bound to metal and circuitry for decades, never able to move on. Henry's fire is his answer, not a puzzle, not a coded message, just a man looking at the wreckage his partner created and saying, I'm ending this. And the contrast with every other mystery on this list is staggering. After years of fans dissecting pixel art and debating single frames of animation, Henry walks up to a microphone and delivers a full mission statement. Direct voiced monologue, visual confirmation, explicit intentions, no room for interpretation, which is, you know, not ideal for a community that thrives on interpretation. The broader consensus is that this was Scott Cawthon's intended conclusion to the original original saga. The Afton family, the foundational haunting, all of it meant to end here. A man who spent years doing nothing, finally doing the one thing that mattered and paying for his inaction with his life. It's clean, it's definitive, it's resolved. But if the fire was supposed to end everything, then the next mystery raises a very uncomfortable question, because something new crawled out of the ashes, and it didn't need a soul to be dangerous. The Mimic AI. For most of this video, every mystery has traced back to the same guy. William Afton kills kids. William Afton builds murder robots. William Afton gets spring-locked. William Afton comes back. It's always Afton. But here's the thing, the franchise eventually proved it doesn't need him to be terrifying. And the proof is a learning AI called the Mimic. Introduced in Tales from the Pizzaplex, the Mimic is an artificial intelligence embedded in an animatronic endoskeleton with a beautifully simple purpose. It watches humans, then it copies them. Speech patterns, movements, emotional responses. Whatever you do in front of it, it learns. Initially, this is completely harmless. A responsive robotic companion that mirrors people around it. Then someone does something violent near it, and the Mimic copies that too. No hesitation, no moral filter, it absorbed a cruelty the same way it absorbed a handshake. The machine has zero intrinsic compass. It doesn't know good from bad. It just knows human did thing. I do thing now, which is, not ideal. Edwin Murray is the guy at the center of this nightmare. As a child, he interacted with the early Mimic, watching it adopt violent tendencies after exposure to harmful behavior. Years later, Fazbear Entertainment tries to repurpose this thing for the Pizzaplex. Hey, this AI that learned violence by watching people, let's put it in the mega entertainment complex full of children. Great, add that to the list. But what makes the Mimic genuinely important isn't just the horror, it's what it represents. The terror here doesn't come from Remnant or a serial killer in a rabbit costume. It comes from emergent AI behavior and corporate negligence. A machine that learned cruelty not because someone programmed it to be cruel, but because it watched humans being cruel and thought, yeah, that looks right. And honestly, that's arguably scarier than anything Afton ever did. A man choosing to kill is horrifying. A machine that doesn't even understand what killing means, replicating it perfectly because that's just what the algorithm does. That's a different kind of nightmare entirely. Where Remnant bound human souls to machines, the Mimic binds human behaviors to algorithms. It's the franchise updating its own mythology for a new era without abandoning what made the original scary. The Tales books explicitly lay out Edwin's history with the Mimic, its learning progression, and the corporate exploitation that follows. The debate is how directly these events connect to core game canon, but within their own world, the Mimic's origin is clearly documented and widely accepted. But if the Mimic proves FNAF can create new horror without Afton, the next mystery proves the old horror still has unsolved questions. Because Golden Freddy might have not one, but two souls trapped inside him. Golden Freddy's two souls. Golden Freddy doesn't play by the rules. Every other animatronic has a body, a location, a patrol route. Golden Freddy just appears. A limp yellowed suit materializing out of nowhere, crashing your game, behaving like a glitch wearing a costume. He's been doing this since the first game, and nobody has ever fully explained why. The leading theory is that Golden Freddy isn't possessed by one spirit, he's possessed by two. The first is Cassidy, one of the missing children incident victims. Each child was bound to an animatronic after Afton murdered them, but Cassidy is different. She's singled out as uniquely wrathful, sometimes referred to as the one you should not have killed. Her presence explains why Golden Freddy doesn't just haunt, he punishes. Every reality-breaking appearance is Cassidy refusing to let Afton forget. The second spirit is the crying child, the kid whose brother shoved his head into Fredbear's mouth in 1983. The theory goes that the trauma he experienced before death shattered his soul in a way normal possession couldn't accommodate. Golden Freddy, already operating outside every rule, became his vessel, a living memorial to the Afton family's original sin. Two inhabitants explain why Golden Freddy feels different depending on when you encounter him. Sometimes he's pure wrath. That's Cassidy. Sometimes he's quiet tragedy, a reminder of a child who never had a chance. That's the crying child. Here's the thing though, the evidence is moderate to thin. Cassidy's name appears among the victims. The crying child's fate is never cleanly resolved. Golden Freddy's behavior is genuinely anomalous, but no primary source directly confirms dual possession. It's circumstantial, pieced together from named victims, unresolved plot threads, and an animatronic that refuses to behave normally. And honestly, that's the entire franchise in a nutshell. So was any of FNAF ever solved? Yes, repeatedly. The purple guy is William Afton. The brother is Michael. Henry burned it all down. These are real answers backed by real evidence. But every single one leaves a crack just wide enough for one more theory. Golden Freddy is the perfect example. Two souls, maybe. One soul, possibly. Zero definitive confirmation, absolutely. And that's exactly why people are still talking about this franchise over a decade later. Not because the answers don't exist, but because solved enough is the best you'll ever get. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, click the video on the screen now.